Adam, thank you so much for making it here. It means a lot for the podcast and for the viewers.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm hoping to contribute a little bit, hopefully in terms of knowledge or especially what it's like to race in the ISL. I think it's very important to spread that and yeah, let's get this thing going.
Hell yeah. So to start things off, how was your experience in the ISL in Budapest 2020? London War did great as a team in my perspective. You hit those two amazing world records. Clearly it went well for you, but can you tell us a little bit more of sort of what was the feel? What did you think of the entire meet?
I mean, for me, it was a light in a big kind of area of darkness. We're in peak lockdown. We're in peak kind of winter. In a sense, we're going into a very heavy winter. We're just coming out of it now. I think the only obviously thing going for me that I had my son a few weeks before, and that was a beautiful thing. But even then, having to leave him, and all the emotions that tie with that with a newborn, you've got to obviously get over that. But in terms of the competition, it was amazing. I think what they improved on in terms of season one was incredible, and doing what they could without a crowd as well. It was just very interesting, and to be honest, I didn't really notice there wasn't a crowd because the production was so good in terms of the racing. But that's exactly how sports got to adapt, and I think ISL adapted very well to providing that. And being in the bubble for 6 weeks was long. It was a test of it was a test really against myself because I've never really been there, somewhere for so long for racing. So it was like, okay, how do I, get out? How do I breathe? And for the mental well-being as well. And I learned more about myself then than I ever would just popping in and out of a competition around the world. So there was a lot of positives that came out of the ISL in terms of training and in racing. So yeah, hopefully we're going to start to see even more, incredible performances.
100%. And I totally agree regarding the fact that you couldn't really notice the fact that there was no spectators because I believe it was the teams were cheering so hard, especially the London Roar. Aqua Centurions broke one of the boots in their final matches because they were cheering so hard, but London Roar was up there. You guys had an amazing team atmosphere, didn't you? What would you
I
attribute
think
this
we're known
to?
as yeah, and I think the London team we're known as the team that will get behind each other, and our culture is pretty much be loud, be happy pretty much, and enjoy the racing, and the rest takes care of itself. So yeah, it's a very strong team, but we were missing a massive contingent of the Australian swimmers and other swimmers around the world because of obviously lockdown and quarantine. So we were missing a massive part of our team in terms of talent, which did kind of affect us in terms of performances. Could we have got, even better? Could we have got a win? You never know. You never want to say, oh, we could have won that because Cali were, such a strong team, such amazing depth, but also energy as well. And if you took in swimmers and put out swimmers, you just never know what you would have ended up with. But I think we would have been stronger. And I always like the Australians anyway because they're a good laugh, no type of party, and it's a great part of the atmosphere being with the Australians.
100%. And yeah, if the Australians were to come, you guys would have been my by far favorites to win the entire league. It was quite a heavy hit on you guys regarding the Australians. But Adam, there was an interesting situation that happened during ISL 2020. Your coach and the head coach of London War, Mel Marshall, posted a video regarding the breaststroke kick of Ilya Shimanovic, the slight dolphin kicks he does, especially into the wall. What do you think regarding this situation? And have you spoken to Ilya maybe after this? What's your stance?
I think Mel, obviously, as a coach, she can kind of go out there and point out what's doing wrong. For me as an athlete, I don't want to get distracted by what other people are doing. I've always been that way, whether it's doing amazing things or doing not so amazing things. Each way is a distraction. So for me, I had zero input into that, but she was, obviously I was annoyed. Of course I'm going to be annoyed. Cheating is cheating to me in the end of the day. And I think to a lot of athletes and to a lot of fans who invest a lot into the sport, why would we invest so much into a sport where people are just getting away with cheating? So I think she was she is right in terms of calling it out. I think it was Vlad as well, who I think he said, obviously, sorry for doing it and stuff. But mean, I can understand, why people do it, but it's almost like there's no honor in doing it because, well, there is no honor. I want to end my career saying, look, I've given my best shot, I've given it a fair shot, and I can shake the people next to me knowing that they've given that too, if that makes sense. I think it becomes a very different question when people are cheating and people are finding ways to bend the rules. There's no honor in that, and there's no. I wouldn't clap my hands for people who have got a world record who have cheated because it's not a world record. On paper, until you do it legit, I think it's a very different kind of conversation. But again, it comes back to I'm not going to get distracted by that. I'm hopefully in the next round or in next season, and whether it's FINA, whether it's ISL, we can hopefully put in underwater camera or use underwater cameras as a kind of look at football where they use VAR. So using cameras to actually disqualify before after the race. Because it did happen at Worlds where people were doing multiple fly kicks off a breaststroke pullout, and it's just like, come on, man! Like, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it is what it is. Until it comes down to a jurisdiction and comes down to the actual judges making that call, we're powerless to do anything about it. So I'm not going to get distracted in that kind of in that conversation, really.
Fair enough, Adam. But there does seem to be quite a bit of ambiguity regarding the legality of breaststroke kicks, sort of where it becomes illegal sort of way. Yeah, there is the official FINA book that you can't kick down as long as it's an up kick. It should be okay. But do you feel like these rules should change a little bit, maybe become more strict, maybe become more lenient? I mean, interestingly enough, I've spoken about this topic to a number of world-class breaststrokers, and everyone sort of has their own opinion on that, but everyone agrees that underwater cameras should be introduced, including Ilya.
100%. Yeah. And I think, whether it's a technical thing and whether he did it on purpose, I don't know. And that's the thing. It's, you have your athlete and you have your person, okay? I really get on with Ilya. I like him. He's a really nice guy. But then it comes down to athlete. It's, you can be friends or best friends off the pitch, but as soon as you go onto the pitch, it's war. It's like that with anyone. If it wasn't like that, then, that's just not competing for me. So don't get it twisted. I'm not going out there to, say, oh, they've done it wrong. Because I can have a beer with them after and it'll be fine. But for me, it's in the process of that, I think we should go towards having more kind of almost redundancy. So if a judge does miss it, then we can use the cameras to pick up illegal kicks or people who are going out of the way to do something illegitimate to obviously get a win. Because we're talking about, okay, this is how we look at it. So if you do it in skins, you could come away with tens of thousands of dollars knowing you're cheating through every single round. And for someone who is, coming second or third or has just been knocked out in the first round by 2 or 3 people who are cheating, that isn't fair. That's fraud. That is borderline fraud because you wouldn't do that in any other job, right? So why are we being lenient towards it in sport where it should be least thingy because the rewards are massive? So I can understand the motivation and the motive around why people do it. But yeah, I do believe that, coming back to the original question, we should use underwater cameras. And yes, the rules around breaststroke do need to be stricter, but it's the way of enforcing that that's going to make, it's going to be make or break, isn't it? Because if they can't enforce that, like, okay, we're going to get rid of pullouts completely or just fly kick to 15 like every other stroke. Is that going to be great for the sport? I don't think so, because you're going to lose 100 years of heritage in a single stroke. So, yeah, I think, it's a very political but very complicated question. But we should be using technology to aid us, not just for entertainment.
Fair enough. Thank you, Adam. Adam, talking about the heritage of breaststroke, there seems to be somewhat of a trend in breaststroke nowadays with a very narrow breaststroke kick. Do you think this will become sort of the future of sprint breaststroke, or is that kind of a trend that will sort of pass in a way? Because not everyone is doing it. You have people like Shimanovic doing it quite extensively, or even Sakchi, but there is a ton of people who are not doing it and are quite successful in breaststroke still.
Yeah, and I think being an athlete, especially swimmer, the best thing about, coming from around the world and racing around the world is people have different gifts and different talents. I'm absolutely horrendous at fly kick. So, and I always have been. And, I'll probably get to a certain level and be like, that's the max I can get to. But another person will be like, I'm absolutely horrendous at breaststroke kick. So I have to go wide. I can't produce enough power, but I can still get, to a 58 high or 58 mid. So there's different talents and different strengths that people have, and obviously different weaknesses. So there's not one rule that everyone should follow, because it's just not applicable. So for me, the narrower kick works for me, but my feet still have to turn outwards to produce enough power and to be legit. As soon as you start to, narrow that even more and start your feet to come like this, that's when it starts to become a question: is that fly kick or is that breaststroke kick? And that's where the rule book, I guess, has to make that differentiation. But how do you do that when you're doing, I don't know, 45, 50 kicks a race? So I think, yeah, some people, especially I think Chilkov, still uses a really a wide kick, especially on the 200, because that works for him. And his stroke is extremely long, elegant. It's a beautiful stroke, don't get me wrong. But for me, I've just got too much muscle and too much, I'm just too big to do that on the 200. So yeah, I have to use a narrow kick to my advantage. And if you think of it in simple hydrodynamics, it's, the larger an object is, the more drag you're going to create, right? So the smaller the object is, the less drag and the more streamlined you're going to be. So if you can produce that power from that, I believe to go 56 low, you've got to do that. But, the rest of the world, on 58.2, I think Shimanovic is on 58.4, 58.4, 54, like everyone else on 58.4. So around that marker. So as soon as you start to go really narrow, you've got to look at endurance. How endurance is that? Is that beneficial to long course or just short course? And there's multiple strokes and multiple tactics you can use around that. So unfortunately, it's not a simple answer.
Fair enough. Thank you, Adam. Adam, you spoke about carrying quite a bit of muscle on you when you swim. One of your big counterparts, and actually a whole team of counterparts, the Tokyo Frog Kings, what I've discovered pretty recently is that somewhat close to 80% of the Tokyo Frog King roster doesn't do any weightlifting and barely does any strength and conditioning outside of the water. Do you believe that it is absolutely necessary to have a lot of strength and conditioning in your training program to succeed in sprint breaststroke, or is there a way to build that up in the water for some people maybe?
I mean, again, it's playing to different strokes and different people. For someone who does a 400 IM, I think it's less important to do weight and strength training, because, I don't think it's going to be that beneficial over an endurance race, because you look at different muscle fibers, then it depends what muscle fibers you want to build, but I'm guessing it'd be the longer, more endurance fibers that you'd need for a longer race. So someone like me who does a 50 and does 100, I've got to have power, I've got to have speed, I've got to have strength. And the only way to do that outside of swimming is lift weights, power lift. And it's working for me, right? Yeah, I broke a world record every single year since I've been professional, so since 2014. But it's also a hard one, because you look at some of the Japanese, and they're going 58 mids, 58 highs, and some of them aren't even touching weights. So it's like, if you did weights, would that be more beneficial, or would that take out of your swimming regime? Because you got to look at it at a net cost of energy, not just, I can add this to my program, because that's going to cost you in the pool. Some days I get into the pool and I'm like, I just can't swim because I've pushed myself so hard in the gym, and vice versa. So it's not simple, because let's say a swimmer X did no swimming, but he's 100 meter breaststroker, just did swimming, no weightlifting, and he was just 100 meter breaststroker, right? And then you introduce this, but he's really, really good in the water. As soon as you start to introduce gym and introduce all these other things, the energy is just going to go down. You're going to be more sore. The recovery times are going to be longer, because you're tearing more muscle fibers. Is that going to be more beneficial to him? You just don't know. But it's unfortunately, it's I think the Japanese are catching on to that. I think they're very traditional, so they do things how things have always been done, which isn't a bad thing, because you pass on that knowledge and you pass on all that authentic and genuine, just coaching to swimmer relationship. But also, I think you could introduce more power, more strength to get the best of both worlds. Maybe I do too much strength. Maybe I need to do more swimming. I don't know. But again, it's the Japanese are amazing in terms of the technical abilities anyway. So yeah, they're the best in the world in terms of technical, definitely.
Oh yeah, 100% agreed. Whenever you see them swim, it's like an aesthetic delight you're receiving just from how perfect it looks. Perfectly agreed. Adam, 13 world records under your belt now, and two of them come from Budapest. Um, Tell me, do you have a special celebration after a world record? Do you have sort of a traditional you follow? Who's the first person you speak to after you get a world record? Is it Mel Marshall?
Yes, yes. Always a coach. Always a coach. I think, yeah. I mean, every world record is special. I've never really been I have been a huge celebrator, but not really. I think I'm waiting until that one world record that really goes, I can't beat that. Because so far, every world record I know I can beat, which might sound a bit arrogant, but it's not. It's just, it's a kind of alternate extension of my confidence that I have in myself, because I need to have that confidence to keep pushing and keep motivating myself. But yeah, I just love it, because as soon as you touch the wall and it says world record, my instant thought is that that could have been faster. I made two mistakes there, and I can instantly recall what mistakes I've made. But yeah, I do believe that it might not be me, but I know someone can go sub 55 on 100 breaststroke. But I mean, long course as well, it's, definitely achievable on a 56.8. So
that would be just crazy. We had people dropping 53s, 54s in the 100 IM at ISL. It would be quite unbelievable. But thank you, Adam. Adam, you mentioned about your son being born right prior to the ISL, George Anderson. Can you speak a little bit more about, how it must have been so tough leaving him? And how hard is it in general to be a father of a young kid and be a professional athlete like yourself?
Yeah, it's very, very hard, because I think I was only with him for, it must have been 4 weeks. Then obviously started packing my bags and ready to go away for 6 weeks. So I was away longer than I knew him, which is hard. And I did cry when I kind of realized I had to go, because it was this like kind of emotional song that came on, and I just remembered him sitting in the back with his little feet, and it's just it's a very kind of emotional moment. But for me, even though that's a very deep emotion, that's what makes me push more and more now, and motivates me more to be better, and motivates me not only to be a faster athlete, but to give back more as well, and help people. Because if my son was ever in a situation where people weren't helping him, I'd be like, okay, I'd look at myself first and go, have I helped people? And, we always, teach our kids through, what we do, don't we? So I think, it's just, it was hard. It was hard being away, especially I was FaceTiming every single day, checking in back home how she was, because it's a logistical challenge, but also an emotional challenge with managing the mum and helping her as much as you can, because you can't do much from a FaceTime. So that's where her family comes in, and my family come in, and the extensive support network that we need. Because don't get me wrong, there are people out there who still think having a baby makes you slower. And I know, I think I read it on SwimSum somewhere. I'm not really sure, but it might not even been there. But I read it somewhere that, that's the last world record that you'll ever get with a baby. I'm like, okay. How is that? How because you have X equals Y, and that's the lack of experience that people have, not only in sport but in me. Because if anyone knows me properly, then this is a massive push for me and a massive motivator. So, and she's an amazing mum. She takes care of him every single day, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. So, it's a very kind of instead of me now that just does the performance. It was never just me. I've got my team at British Swimming. I've got my team who manage me. I've got my team who do all the AP stuff, but I just swim the race. But now I'm swimming the race for, her and him. So yeah, it's a very, very warm feeling.
Mm. Wow. It's crazy that people think that a kid is going to make you slower. What about the legendary dad power?
Yeah, I know, but they always do. I think they have this the kind of a comedy sketch where the dad's up at 3 a.m. every single day, or 2 a.m. or bottle feeding. But thankfully, I don't have to do any of that.
Mm. Adam, you already touched base upon motivation a little bit. This is kind of a deep question, and you're free to answer it as deeply as you want. But what motivates you to swim in general? Is it sort of because I believe in sort of types of professional athletes that exist. You know, some people swim because they're lovely at professional athlete lifestyle. Some people have the intrinsic desire to win. They want to prove that they're number one, the best. Some people just love the activity of swimming. Some people just love the thrill of competition, the adrenaline that comes to it. What motivates you?
I think it's a mixture of them, but none of them, if that makes sense. It's not one that's more dominant than the other. I think what makes me push to world records and what makes me push more than ever are the moments where you're just in a flow state. You're completely just you in the water. Nothing else matters except from just going faster. Each stroke just going faster. So yes, I could say I'd love to go out there and raise my arms and go, do this for my country. I'll do this for them. I'll do that for them. And that used to be it, but it's not anymore. And I could go out there and go, I love the adrenaline. I love the training. I love the lifestyle because the lifestyle's good. It's a great life to live. You get to travel, you get paid to do it, and you get to do what you love. So for me, again, it's not powerful enough. So for me, it's the flow state that I'm in. And anyone hearing this and like, what's he on about the flow state? It's doing something you're extremely, it's hardwired into you, your genetic code, that something you're so good at and you love so much that you can just be at one with that. And you don't have to think about anything else. And it's just pure, I don't even know what you call it. It's just pure, high octane, stuff just in you. It's just amazing. It's an amazing feeling. So when I'm just cutting the water every single stroke and just being in that moment, that's what I do it for. And chasing those moments, that's what I do it for. So yeah, it's almost adrenaline junkie is the word, but it's not adrenaline. It's higher than that. It's just more, just something. I haven't got a tangible word to explain it because it's just so great.
Wow, thank you, Adam. I almost feel I'm almost jealous to know what you're experiencing. That seems like such an amazing feeling. It sounds like one of these dreams where you're running through a field and you're just weightless.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thank you, Adam. And with that, you want to move to the blitz portion of the podcast, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. It's going to be quick question, quick answer. You can make the answer as elaborate as you want, but a simple yes or no could be enough. So here we go. Adam, do you have a pet?
No.
How many kilometers do you train a day on average?
10.
Long course meters, short course meters, or yards? What's your personal preference?
Long course.
What is your favorite event to swim?
100-meter breaststroke.
What is your favorite event to spectate?
Ooh, that's a good one. Damn it, that's not blitz. 100 free.
100 free. How old were you when you started swimming?
10.
Who was your childhood idol, and if you had one?
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, that's a new one. Wow. Do you have siblings? I know you have them, but do you want to voice how many siblings you have?
Yes, 2 brothers and 1 sister. I'm the youngest.
Thank you. What is your favorite sport to take part in outside of swimming?
Cycling.
Cycling. What is your favorite sport to spectate outside of swimming?
Boxing.
Boxing. What is your favorite team logo and team uniform out of the ISL teams, excluding London Roar?
I'm always jealous that the Condors have something like this. They're going to kill me if it's not right. I don't know. Is it that one or fingers? I don't know. But
I think they flap, yeah.
Yeah, I'm making up a new thing here. It's just...
Hey, that could be the London Roar new one.
Yeah.
A little mock.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. But that about concludes our blitz. And I know that you're a very busy athlete. I know that you're moving houses right now, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to keep you on this podcast for too long. But just before I let you go, Adam, do you have any final words to the London War fans and to your personal fans that are watching this podcast right now?
Yes, I'd say a huge thank you for supporting London Raw, and hopefully in the future we can bring back more Raws, more wins, and put on some great shows for you guys when we're hopefully out of lockdown and you can enjoy the flow state that we're all in, hopefully one day, and we can put some amazing performances on for you. So yeah, thank you for supporting us, and here's to next season.
Thank you so much, Adam. And thank you